Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan, a medically qualified doctor and a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. And today's video is about pimple patches. Do they even work, or are they a gimmick? What type of pimples do they heal? And what type of patches should we be using? Which are the best actives and which have the worst actives? Should we be using microdots or go with the simple hydrocolloid patches? We'll be demoing which are less obvious on skin of color and which you can apply makeup over. My entire channel is non-sponsored. I pay for every product, which means I can highlight false advertising, costing you money and preventing you from getting results. So something you might not know is that there are three main types of patches: hydrocolloid patches, medicated patches, and combination patches. Combination patches are the microdots plus ingredients. They all work differently for different outcomes for different types of pimples. First up, we have the hydrocolloid patches. They are the most popular, they're the cheapest, but they're also the most basic option. They absorb a pus from the pimples, so not sebum, pus. And what it does, it creates a moist environment to the skin, which promotes faster healing. They also stop you from picking at the skin, allowing bacteria from your fingers to get back into the actual acne itself. It's a similar mechanism we use in the hospital, for example. If you cut yourself or you've had a surgical wound, we apply a silicone plaster on top. And it does the same thing, creates a moist environment for the skin, a little bit like a blister, and it creates a sterile environment for the skin and allows the skin to repair itself faster. The medicated patches have these benefits plus additional effects based on the actives included. Some actives I like for skin of color and other actives you should avoid. I'll go through this a little bit later. Then we have the microneedles or the microdots. These pierce the acne, which works best for cystic acne. A combination of acne plus the correct actives are the most powerful option, as a dart followed by ingredients to treat the pimple from within. However, this also gives the maximum chances of irritation. One ingredient I want you to look for, especially if you have microdots right now, is for tea tree. Tea tree oil is rampant when it comes to microdots and it comes to hydrocolloid patches. The problem is that tea tree oil is an essential oil. So yes, it does have antibacterial properties, but for skin of color, it can lead to sensitivity, which can then lead to hyperpigmentation. The exact thing that we are trying to avoid. So that's fine for Caucasian skin. Caucasian skin very rarely gets hyperpigmentation. No matter if you literally peel the whole top layer of skin off, the skin will be absolutely fine. For us, we won't. Our skin will not like it. Your melanocytes will be very angry with you, and it can lead to hyperpigmentation. So tea tree is the one that I just see over and over again in a lot of these products. And I basically bought every single microdot on the internet, and I struggle to find one without it. So let's test the hydrocolloid patches. How discreet are they? How thick are they? And will they cover the big bumps? So starting off with Mighty Patch. Mighty Patch is one that we've seen all over the internet. Now the way this thing works is it has a little split in the plastic. And what it does, it just allows you to get to the dot, but without really putting your finger on top. And that's something you have to be really careful of. I don't want you sticking your finger at all your bacteria. Also make sure you have clean fingers when you do this, by the way. And you've cleaned your face, of course, and patted it dry with a white towel. Then you just want to touch from the edges, because the more you touch this, the less sticky it becomes. So you literally just want to pinch it from the edge. Okay, and this is actually quite a thick one, so compared to the other ones, let's see how it looks on the skin. So now the thing with dots for spots is ideally, or dots just generally, hydrocolloid patches, is you want to be wearing them for 6 to 8 hours. So the smart thing to do, for example, would be to wear at nighttime. But to get best results, you want to be wearing them for 24 hours. And if you're like at school or you're at work, you might not want to walk around with these. I would say this is why we're doing the test, to see which is the most discreet, and if you think you can get away with wearing them at school or at work. This one I would say is quite thick, but it does mean it's going to last longer. It's going to be more durable, and there's less creasing happening when I'm putting my finger down. Moving on to the Acne Pimple Master Patch, COSRX. So I like this because it's got multiple different sizes. Generally speaking, you are unlikely really though. These are going to be a little bit redundant. No one's going to have spots quite so tiny on this side. They're going to be slightly larger on this side, but we have got 9 here. It's not as thick actually as the Mighty Patch. It doesn't give you that splitting of the plastic actually, so it's forcing you to have to bend the plastic and almost try and peel it off, and this means it's going to be slightly trickier. You might get a little bit more creasing of the actual patch itself, and you might have to touch a bit more of it. When I put it on, I would say it's definitely thinner, slightly more discreet, I'd say. Still obvious. I feel like we need pimple patches for brown skin. Come on, CosRx and Mighty Patch. I'm giving you a good idea here. So next one, we have Skin Choice. So let's see how Skin Choice does. Skin Choice actually gives me quite a lot of choice. There is a lot of patches in here. 75 patches. That is good. I'm only getting 24 with CosRx and 36 with Mighty Patch. I'm already liking his Skin Choice. Okay, so let's open this all up. Let's see if you give me the split of plastic, making it slightly more hygienic for me. And I also like, yes, they have done this. Well done. Excellent. Oh, yeah. Lovely. Beautiful. Interesting. Can you see in this one, you can actually see the actual inside of the circle. That is the hydrocolloid part of this. And that is what's sucking out the sebum from the skin. It does feel thinner. Let's see how it looks on the skin. I think that's pretty good. Can't see it. Clear. Guys, I like Skin Choice. Skin Choice is pretty... I can barely see it. I actually had to look twice in the mirror. Skin Choice so far is winning. Okay, Skin Choice, I like this. You are doing well. I really didn't expect that. It even has the best packaging. Moving on to the next two. So Dots for Spots has always been my OG, to be honest. I've been talking about Dots for Spots for years. And in fact, you know, something really interesting happened. When I went to America to do Good Morning America, when we launched our book, Skin Revolution, I remember being in Times Square. I actually had a videographer with me at the time, and we would go up to people in Times Square and ask them about their skincare. You know how that was a trend 2 years ago? It's actually still the trend, but anyway. And I went up to one of them, and it was someone who worked for Dots for Spots. She did the PR for Dots for Spots. She did the social media. I showed her some of my videos that I'd already done, and she was so impressed. So just such a small world. I think the skincare world is small. So let's see how they've done here. Okay, they've always been my favorite, but let's see now that I've got, okay, so let's see what it looks like. It looks very similar to Skin Choice. Even in terms of size, they've also got the split plastic, which is clever. I think they were the first ones to do this, to be honest. So I'd say Dots for Spots is less obvious just because it hasn't got the inside circle. But you tell me, you can see through the camera. I can only see through the mirror. I'd say in the mirror, color-wise, this is doing better. But actually in terms of thinness and not having that 3D bump, Dots for Spots is still doing very well, which is amazing. Usually what tends to happen is as the new iterations of a product, they tend to get better and better. Unless the OG is so good that everyone's just trying to catch up with them, which could be the case here. Moving on to Starface. We do know that North Kardashian loves this. There's actually a little TikTok of it. It's very cute. This is obviously not going to be hidden on the face. And I think that's kind of the point of this. This is to make a statement, to be super bright, super happy. And I love it. I'm all about that. So let's see what it looks like on my face. How do you even open this thing? There's no splitting here. Is it hygienic? Okay, so what you have to do is you have to open up all of it. Let's just get to the one that we want. Oh, you know what? These are tiny. Oh, okay, so I'll tell you the problem with this in a second. Okay, if I pop it on, I do like it. I feel like I made a statement. The problem with this is if you actually look at the inside of this, not where the tails are, not the ends, but the actual inside, imagine the pimple has to be smaller than that. Teenage pimples generally are not going to be smaller than this. This one's more for fun. It's probably not going to be as practical. We need a larger diameter. And it's not hidden, but I do like the happy ethos. So like, you're doing well. In terms of hydrocolloid patches, for my face, I personally would actually go for the thicker, more obvious Mighty Patch, just because it's going to last on my skin for longer. And so I'm going to get better results. But if I was a teenage girl, the answer would be different. If I was a teenage girl, I'd probably go for dots for spots. The internal diameter is excellent, so the amount of hydrocolloid in this. On top of that, it's very, very thin, so it blends into the skin nicely. It is still going to be slightly obvious, but it's just not terrible. Out of these, the best for me is still dots for spots for teens, but I'd be really interested to hear from you guys down below which of the hydrocolloid patches is your favorite. Moving on to the next category, which are medicated patches. Here we've got the inkey list, got glacia and purified. The inkey list claims to see results within 4 hours and to be the fastest pimple patch with 0.4% salicylic acid, 0.4% succinic acid, which improves redness, and 0.2% ectoin. This is one of my favorite ingredients at the moment. It helps repair the skin barrier, and it's called an extremolite, actually, ectoin. Ectoin basically helps to prevent any dehydration of the skin, tends to improve wound healing as well. So ectoin is something I'm working with on a secret project I'm working on for you guys, which I can't talk about yet. It's quite a new ingredient on the market, but very exciting for my Skin of Color family. So let's see how it goes. Okay, here, so we have got 22 patches. With this, I would actually say, I do like what they've done with the plastic. So they've kept it hygienic. It's a decent diameter. I do think they could probably go a little bit larger, especially for, bigger pimples. But let's see what it looks like on the skin. It blends really nicely. You can barely see it. Can you see it? I am impressed, the inkey list. That is excellent. To have actives plus make it look invisible on my skin is excellent. Right, so let's move on to glacia. So this is the easy blemish. Glacia contains candela oil with tea tree oil. Again, remember I talked to you about tea tree oil? It's one to avoid. I've bought it now, so you may as well see what it looks like. So it's got different sizes. These are going to be redundant. It's going to be very hard to find a pimple small enough, because don't forget, you want to create a tight seal around the pimple. That's the whole point of this. Also, you don't want to keep touching it. So always go for the larger one. It doesn't split the plastic, so you do have to touch it slightly more. It is quite thin, but what it does do is it creases at the edge. They don't all do this. This one in particular is pretty bad actually when it comes to this. And that's what makes it more obvious. So I would say it's very thin, just as thin as the inkey list, but I don't like the tea tree. I don't like the plastic doesn't split in half, and I don't like that we're not getting all of them as large sizes. These small sizes are slightly redundant. So yeah, this one's not doing very well so far. I was really excited about this one. So this is purified from the makers of acne side. So of course I was hoping for benzoyl peroxide, which would just kill the P. acnes bacteria. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Instead, we have salicylic acid, which I like. So that will unclog the pores, which you can never have enough of when you have oily acne-prone skin. There's got centella, which I love as well, as anti-inflammatory. Don't forget, when you have acne, that irritation is essentially free fatty acids forming in the actual pore itself, and it's those free fatty acids that are highly irritating, that lead to the redness around, and that actually trigger the melanocytes, leading to hyperpigmentation. So anything anti-inflammatory for us is a win. They've got willow herb in here, which I love as well, but they use denatured alcohol as the third ingredient. Denatured alcohol is a problem. Yes, it dries the skin quickly. Yes, it makes you feel like you're stripping the oil from the skin. But actually, what is happening is you're generating free radicals, leading to more inflammation of the skin. And actually, if you lead to that quick dry feeling, what happens is it overproduces sebum. Your skin creates a feedback loop, which is saying, oh, we're not producing enough sebum, we have to produce more. So anything with denatured alcohol in it, you really should avoid. Plus, they put tea tree oil in this, which was a mistake. I mean, this could have been amazing. But anyway, let's see what it looks like on the skin. So they got different sizes. I do like, this is probably the largest size I've seen. So that's something they have done well. But let's see what it looks like on the skin. They've split the plastic. Well done. Oh, very thin on the skin. I have to say that these three have done much better than even the hydrocolloid patches when it comes to invisibility. I think you can barely see it. So purified, you really have done outstanding when it comes to invisibility test, but If you could just go back to the drawing board and make me a benzoyl peroxide one without denatured alcohol, I promise you I will make you a full video dedicated to you because my Skin of Color family needs it, and I will help you make sure everyone knows about it, because actually you've got the technology when it comes to making it invisible, and I know that you have the technology when it comes to benzoyl peroxide, and I know how difficult it is to manufacture with benzoyl peroxide. I have tried myself. It is considered a drug, and that's the reason why I can't put it into my products, which are over-the-counter products. So Purified, you are in the strongest position to create the best hydrocolored patches with ingredients actives in them. If you guys want to just maybe tag Purified, just send them this video, then hopefully we can encourage them to do it for us. Next, we're going to cover the microneedle patches. But before we do, don't forget, I'm in the comment section for 1 hour at the launch of every YouTube video. So when you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can come and ask me your questions. Also, you can ask me your questions on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook. And also don't forget to download your free ebook for Skin of Color. The link is down below. So starting off with Goo Getter, can I just say I actually love the name Goo Getter. That is brilliant. In here we've got oligopeptides, salicylic acid, and niacinamide. But they added ascorbic acid. Why? Why would you add a low pH acid to an open wound? Which is what acne is. It's an open wound, people. When you see blood on the skin is broken. Now, why would you put acid on that? It makes no sense. But anyway, we have it now, so let's check what it looks like. In addition, these guys decided to put tea tree oil into these stickers. So I made a mistake. This is actually should be under the hydrocolored section. I don't like it, can I just say? Don't buy these. It's got a lot of ingredients we don't like, and they're tiny. They're tiny, tiny little dots. No one's got zits that tiny. If you did, you wouldn't bother buying these patches. I would just say, let's avoid Goo Getter. I do like the name. We're going to move on to the actual medicated microdots. Okay, so we have Hyperfade. Hyperfade is hyaluronic acid and niacinamide, but again, they added ascorbic acid, which is a mistake, as we've just discussed. And I'll tell you part of the reason, by the way, this happens. So you're seeing the same ingredients in the same brands over and over again. And it almost becomes a cosmetic formulator's signature. So if you come to my lab, for example, you will see, for example, 50 kg drums of niacinamide, say, or you will see retinaldehyde, again, in big drums, which is an incredibly expensive ingredient. It's my favorite vitamin A, but I put it in everything. And so it makes sense for me to buy in bulk so I can then put it in everything. You'll see stem cells. You'll see huge batches of stem cells in my lab for the same reason. I love stem cells. I put it in everything. So that then becomes my signature. You will see a cocktail of ingredients that I personally love all together, and you'll see them in many of my different products. So similar thing is happening here. So if you look back, for example, at a Zitter sticker, they're using similar ingredients. No one else is using ascorbic acid in their patches, but they are, and they'll use it in all of them for this reason. This is their signature. This is what they love. But for Skin of Color, I would avoid. So let me just show you what it looks like. It's slightly different to what we've been dealing with. It looks quite interesting, doesn't it? So this is it. Can you see the little dots at the bottom? Okay, so I like that. I like how hygienic it is. That's excellent. So one at a time is brilliant, because imagine you pierce one by accident with your finger and then you go and use it later, and say your fingers aren't clean, that bacteria is then going to penetrate immediately into the skin. I'm kind of nervous to put this on my skin. Does this hurt? Does this not hurt? Actually, can I just say I'm such a baby? I've had 2 children, 2 C-sections, and I'm still pathetic. Like, I still can't do needles. Okay, it doesn't look terrible. It's a bit stingy. It's not terrible. I am actually pathetic though. I have such a low pain threshold, but I could handle it. It's okay. Okay, how does it compare though with Peach Slices Microdots? Interesting. So these guys have not individually wrapped these like Zitter sticker have. It's not as hygienic. This is a bit of a problem, to be honest. Okay, so in here we have tea tree oil, niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, salicylic acid. It's just another no for me. Come on, this is not good. Let's see what it looks like, feels like. It's not as painful. I mean, this is actually, look at that. That is pretty severe. I don't know if you can walk around with this. This one is a little bit less obvious. When I was researching for this video, I tried to find every single micro dot that I possibly could. I tried to find one without tea tree oil, and only actually 2 days ago, I found a new one. And this is the Zitter Sticker Killer Kit. And in it, it has sodium hyaluronate, oligopeptides, niacinamide, sodium hydroxide, and salicylic acid. It does come with a swab with denatured alcohol and tea tree oil. I would avoid the swab, but actually online, it's the only product that has microdots and without tea tree oil or ascorbic acid. So that's the one that I would recommend if I had cystic acne or acne that's slightly below the skin that you do need to penetrate. In terms of pain is quite low. It's not terrible. You will be fine. So next question then becomes, so how do we apply it and how long should we leave it on for best results? So the most important step is cleaning the skin. At this point, if you have acne, it's likely you're trying to cover up with makeup. This means not only do you need your micellar water to clean the makeup off, you also need to double cleanse. And this could be, say, with your salicylic acid face wash, cleaning it twice. Get a white towel and pat it dry. Now, when you get a white towel, make sure it's one that doesn't give microfibers off onto the skin. So pat it dry. And once it's patted dry, then you can apply your sticker. A little tip that I would say for my skin of color family is to any actives you want to apply that you want to occlude onto the skin. If you have 2% salicylic acid and you want to spray it on first and then apply your pimple patch. Let it dry for a minute or so and then apply the pimple patch, because now you are occluding the ingredients. So you've got normal hydrocolloid patch and you're just adding your own ingredients. If you want to use any tyrosinase inhibitors, you can too, but the most important thing is that the skin is dry by the time that you put the pimple patch on top. If you put the pimple patch onto wet skin, it will not stick, it will come off, and you're going to keep touching it. You're actually just going to make the situation worse. The next most important step is picking a pimple patch that has enough space around it to completely cover the pimple and to create a solid seal. If this is not happening, it's not going to work either. Step 4, make sure you're applying the pimple patch on for a reasonable amount of time. 6 to 8 hours is the minimum, although ideally 24 hours. Step 5, you can remove and then replace the pimple patch until the pimple has gone. So the winner for the pimple patches for sensitive skin would be Skin Choice for me. The winner for pimple patches with actives would be the Inkey list. And the winner for pimple patches with microdots and actives would be the Zitter Sticker Killer Kit. Now watch how to treat acne and scars fast.